The Krell Dominion had never known defeat. Across 164 star systems, their crimson warships had carved a path of absolute dominion through the galaxy. Every species that had dared resist had been reduced to ash and memory. The Krell didn't just conquer, they erased. Commander Thexerel stood on the bridge of the flagship Inevitable Dawn, his four eyes gleaming with satisfaction as he reviewed the holographic display of their next target, a small blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The humans called it Earth. Primitives, he hissed, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Our scouts report they've barely left their own moon. They still use chemical rockets. The bridge crew erupted in clicking laughter. We'll be home before the twin moons rise. The fleet numbered 300 vessels, more than they'd used against the technologically advanced Zephrani or the warrior culture of the Draviks. It was by Krell standards overkill. But Thexerel wanted to make a statement. Humanity would be the 165th jewel in the Dominion's crown, and their extinction would serve as a warning to any other species foolish enough to resist. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lieutenant Danny Morrison stood before a bank of monitors, her hazel eyes tracking the incoming fleet. Around her, the command center hummed with controlled chaos. Officers calling out trajectories, weapon status, shield harmonics. Fleet composition confirmed, she reported, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. 300 capital ships, estimate 2,000 support craft. Tied to lunar orbit 47 minutes. General Noah Castellanos stood beside her, his weathered face impassive. At 53, he'd spent 30 years preparing for this moment, a moment most of humanity had dismissed as paranoid fantasy until 6 months ago when the Krell scouts had been detected. 47 minutes, he repeated quietly. Then we find out if we're as clever as we think we are. Danny glanced at him. She'd served under Castellanos for 5 years, and she'd never seen him nervous. Even now, facing an enemy that had destroyed 164 civilizations, he radiated calm confidence. It was almost unsettling. All stations report ready, sir, she said. Project Phantom is online. Castellanos nodded slowly. Good. Let them come. The Krell fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Their ships arranged in the traditional Dominion battle sphere, an impenetrable formation that had crushed every enemy fleet it had ever faced. Thexerel's sensors immediately began scanning for human defenses. There were none. No orbital platforms. No fleet waiting in defensive positions. Not even the primitive space station their scouts had reported seeing 6 months earlier. The planet below seemed utterly defenseless, its electromagnetic spectrum showing normal civilian traffic, unaware or uncaring about the doom hovering above them. Scan for their military vessels, Thexerel ordered, suspicious. No species had ever failed to at least attempt a defense. Nothing, Commander, his sensor operator reported. No ships detected anywhere in the system. We're not even picking up their crude chemical rockets. Thexerel's mandibles twitched. Had the humans fled? Impossible, they didn't have the technology. Had they surrendered without a fight? Unlikely. But it had happened before with primitive species who understood the futility of resistance. Broadcast our demands, he ordered. They have one of their hours to surrender unconditionally, or we will... The sensor operator's cry cut him off. Commander, contact. Multiple contacts. They're everywhere. The holographic display exploded with red markers. Ships, thousands of them appearing from nowhere. They weren't emerging from FTL. They were simply materializing as if they'd been invisible. They surrounded the Krell fleet completely, and Thexerel's combat computer immediately calculated the odds. 12,000 human vessels against 300 Krell. 40 to 1. But numbers meant nothing. The Krell had faced worse odds against the Draviks and had still... The first human ship fired. Thexerel never saw the weapon. One moment the crushing Victory, a heavy cruiser on the fleet's outer edge, was transmitting normal telemetry. The next moment it was gone. Not destroyed, gone. Erased so completely that not even debris remained. The space where it had existed was now empty, as if the ship had never been there at all. Then another ship vanished. And another. Evasive maneuvers, Thexerel screamed. Return fire! All batteries. 7 more Krell vessels ceased to exist in the span of a heartbeat. The human fleet wasn't advancing. They didn't need to. Whatever weapons they possessed worked at any range, and the Krell shields, Shields that had withstood antimatter warheads and plasma cannons might as well have been tissue paper. Jump to FTL. Retreat! Thexrel ordered, his voice cracking with fear for the first time in his military career. The jump drives engaged. Dozens of Krell ships vanished into faster-than-light travel, escaping the massacre. Thexrel felt relief flood through him as his own ship's drives began to spin up. They would regroup, analyze, return with... His ship stopped, not destroyed, not damaged, simply stopped. The FTL drives were still active, reading nominal, but the inevitable dawn hung motionless in space. Around him, every other Krell vessel that had attempted to jump was similarly frozen. On his display, a message appeared in perfect Krell script. Going somewhere. Then the human ships opened fire in earnest. In the bunker, Danny watched the tactical display with professional detachment as 300 red markers disappeared one by one. The quantum entanglement weapons, humanity's greatest secret developed in a crash program over 30 years, worked flawlessly. Each shot collapsed the quantum state of every atom in the target simultaneously, effectively deleting the target from reality. No debris, no radiation, just nothing. Engagement complete, she reported. Total time, 97 seconds. 0 human casualties, 0 enemy survivors, 0 wreckage. Castellanos allowed himself a small smile. Stand down from alert status. Recall the fleet to stealth positions. Let's make sure we stay hidden for the next visitors. Danny understood. The Krell had been a test humanity had passed by doing what humans did best, surviving through deception, preparation, and overwhelming technological surprise. For 30 years, humanity had pretended to be primitive, had hidden their true capabilities, had waited for an enemy to underestimate them. The stealth fields reactivated. 12,000 human warships vanished from sensors once again, scattered throughout the solar system, waiting, watching. The Krell Dominion would send scouts eventually, searching for their missing fleet. They would find nothing. No battle damage, no debris field, no evidence that 164's victorious fleet had ever reached Earth at all. Just silence. And silence, Danny reflected, was the most terrifying message humanity could send to the galaxy. We're here. We're watching. And if you come for us, you'll simply cease to exist. The arrogant Krell had learned too late what 164 other species had never lived long enough to discover. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or numbers, it was patience,